Watching snow fall in a quiet forest changes the environment. The air thickens, the ambient noise drops away, and every surface is slowly covered in an even, undisturbed layer of white. In this state, snow functions as a physical recording medium. It is an untouched canvas that tracks every movement within its boundaries. Living things cannot navigate this space without displacing mass. Every step compresses the surface, meeting a sequential, physical record of where they came from and where they went. Mechanical objects like cars or snowplows leave even deeper markers. They create a heavy, wide record that is virtually impossible to hide. However, police records contain accounts of winter isolation where these physical laws appear to fail, where survivors report violent encounters that the snow refused to record. When the environment denies the physical reality of a threat, the survivor is forced to question whether the laws of physics have broken down or if their own senses have failed them. In one instance, a man took a late-night walk down a secluded hiking trail. The snowfall had been sudden and heavy, leaving the ground in a perfectly smooth state. Deep in the woods, he found a 9-year-old boy sitting on a branch 20 feet in the air. The tree was perfectly straight, and the snow at the base of the trunk was entirely unbroken, meaning the boy had to have been there before the snow started falling. The boy stood up and fell 30 feet to the ground. He landed on his back, but instead of sustaining an injury, he immediately sprang up and attacked the man, clawing at his neck and shoulders before running into the woods. The man suffered deep, bleeding lacerations on his neck that required medical attention. But when police followed his tracks back to the tree, they found no other footprints. According to the snow, the man had been completely alone. This creates a direct conflict between physical trauma and physical evidence. The man's wounds were real, but the absence of any other tracks suggests an attack that was environmentally impossible. Another case involved a college student walking down an isolated road during a severe blizzard. Up ahead, he saw a multi-ton snowplow. Suddenly, the vehicle jerked to the right, cut across the road, and crashed into the tree line. Upon reaching the site, he found a scene with all the hallmarks of a real accident. The engine was running, the headlights were on, and the front end was crumpled. But the cab was empty, and the driver was nowhere to be found. Police investigated the site the next morning. They found no signs of a collision, no damaged trees, and most importantly, no tire tracks on that stretch of road. While it is common for the brain to misinterpret shadows in the dark, perceiving the complex mass, engine roar, and mechanical heat of a heavy vehicle that leaves no physical trace suggests a significant disruption in how the witness perceived their surroundings. A third account highlights a different kind of impossibility, the breakdown of biological limits. A student was walking home through a wooded area during a massive snowstorm. He was confronted by a bald man wearing only a short-sleeved shirt and shorts. Despite skin that had turned purple from the cold, the man let out a scream and sprinted toward him through the deep snow. Physiologically, a human body cannot maintain the explosive energy needed to sprint through deep snow while simultaneously suffering from lethal exposure. The energy required for such a chase contradicts the body's internal state in those temperatures. The student escaped, but hours later, the same man appeared outside his second-story bedroom window. His father saw the intruder flee and immediately called for help. When the police arrived, they noted the tracks leading into the woods, but refused to follow them into the dark, leaving the evidence to be buried by the storm. By the time the sun rose, the snowfall had cleared the record. Without an immediate investigation, the witness was left with a terrifying memory and no physical proof that the intruder ever existed. While the threats in these stories, the child, the machine, and the freezing man, are distinct, they all lead to the same isolating conclusion for the survivors. In every case, authorities prioritize the physical logic of the snow over the testimony of the witness. When a story contradicts an untouched white landscape, the physical record is treated as the only objective truth. The weather itself functions as a mechanism for erasure, continuously overriding the evidence of what occurred until the scene is reset to its original state. Within hours, the landscape removes any trace of a struggle. This leaves the survivor with a memory that is denied by the very ground they stand on. If you ever survive an encounter in the cold, and the morning light shows a world that remains perfectly undisturbed, you are left with a choice: Do you trust your own senses or the evidence of the world around you?